Hello everybody. So I'm continuing work on this character that we're animating here, and um, in the last video I was playing around with the armature and I noticed something that is problematic. So we're gonna work on that. So when you're in pose mode, when I was in pose mode, I went to rotate this and I noticed my geometry just kind of come in undone. Okay, so this is a problem that I need to solve. Okay, I'm looking at it, and it seems like I've just had this issue where the roof is not, and those corners aren't being really influenced how I want them to be influenced. I would rather have the roof and the house all twist together, but what ends up happening, I think, is we have, these shoulder bones kind of saying, "Hey, this thing can't twist like that," so it's being separated. So I'm gonna see if there's some quick ways I can fix that. So I'm gonna jump into object mode and then just select the mesh. I'm just gonna deselect object mode, A to deselect, A to select, A to deselect everything. There you go, object mode, and then A. There we go. Okay, so everything's deselected. I'm gonna click just the mesh, tab into edit mode, and see what I have going on here. So if I go into my vertex groups and if I select just the roof, if I hit select, I notice that it selects all of those verts. And this isn't exactly what I wanted. I actually wanted the roof to only go to here, and instead it's selecting all of that. So I'm gonna fix this. It's a little hard because my geometry is really dense now. So I'm just zooming in. I'm gonna deselect everything. I'm gonna hop into vertex mode, side view, box select, just box select just the roof verts. So B for box select, so a box or marquee, and I select all those and say assign. That's the roof. And the door, let's see. The door, let's see what that looks like. Select, yeah, the door looks good. Select everything. House walls, select. Ew. So you see it selected even the roof and stuff. So I'm going to fix that. So here's something interesting. Let's try B for box select. I'm going to hold down shift. And what I expect this to do is turn it into a deselecting function. Yeah, it worked. Okay, great. So those are house walls. I'm going to assign that. Okay, so basically, notice all of these vertex groups. Now they're assigned, these look like my bone names. So what these actually are the vertex groups that go with the armature. So what we can do if we go out, go back into our armature and go into there, you notice that these bones all have names, right? So this is the head bone. And the head bone I want to control probably the roof and this section of the mesh. So what I need to do is go into my mesh and go into the vertex editor and then go down to where it says head. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign all this to the head. So I'm going to go B, select all this, and hit assign. And then let's see what happens. Select you. So it's selecting, when I select head, that's stuff, then that's not right. So say remove. And then I'm going to say deselect all, head select, nothing selected because I just cleared it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say B, box select, all of this. That's going to be my head. And I'm going to say assign. And now what should happen, let's test it. Okay, yep, that's what I want. Okay, I'm going to tab back click on my armature. Then I'm going to go into pose mode. And when I move this head bone, you see it's moving all my stuff. And it's actually working pretty good. I'm wondering is about this. I don't know what that is. Alt R. Okay. Let's go back to our mesh. What is happening? Geometry rise. Sometimes there's this thing called duplicate faces. So let's try that. Box select, problems in this area, and we're gonna go tools, remove doubles. And what that does, it takes out the duplicate faces. It already removed 110, which is pretty good. So let's see if that fixed the problem. A duplicate face is just a face on top of a face, and sometimes that happens. And ew. My problem seemed to get worse. Well, let's try this again. Go back into my mesh. Tab in object into edit mode. Let's get rid of a lot of duplicate faces. So remove doubles. That's pretty good. And then A. I'm probably got to redo my armature parenting. So let's try problem solving that. So I got my house, drag my house out, cleared the parent. Now my mesh should be cleaner. And then I need to go into back into object mode, select the mesh, then the armature, and then I need to go object mode. There we go. Mesh, armature selected. And I'm going to go object, parent, armature deform with automatic weights. Automatic weights. And then okay, so now my mesh has all the duplicate faces taken out, so the geometry has been improved. And what this means is that points that are close together actually get merged, which is a little bit unpredictable, but let's see what happens. So if I go into pose mode now, beautiful. Okay, so what I just problem solved here is a very common thing that's going to happen with your models. You're going to sometimes have duplicate faces, and then when you go to move things with the armature, it doesn't really know how to behave, so it just starts acting goofy. So yeah, there you go. So problem solved. And then Alt R to undo that. Okay, so basically that is fixing our problem that we had, and now our model is beautiful. You know, it does cool things. You can rotate stuff, you know, but you know, you could imagine like this would be hard to animate a character with. And so what we got to do is we got to actually do some things to help us along the way. And these are called Ikea Bones. Okay, and IK stands for inverse kinematics, and this is something that you set up in order to make this whole process of animating a character smoother and look more natural. It's kind of complicated, and so you'll have to bear with me a little bit. So first I'm going to undo all those transforms I made. So Alt R again, Alt G. So now my transforms are all clear. I need to add some Ikea Bones. So to do that, you actually need to be in edit mode on your armature. And what you're going to do, and we're just going to, for this video, I'll just rig this one leg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this foot bone here, and I'm going to Shift D to duplicate it. And I'm just going to bring it outside a little bit. Okay. And what this is going to do is it's going to control the rest of my armature from this point upwards. So inverse kinematics says, I want this bone to go to this place, and then what it does is says, okay, this bone wants to go here, so this bone goes here, this bone goes here, and it just sets it all up for you. So that way you're not having to adjust all the bones individually. So to set this up, first you duplicate the bone. Now the bone is we got a bone floating out here. And then you're going to go to this tab over here, which is the one with a little bone on it. This is the properties for this particular bone. and I'm going to clear the parent. And now that little dashed line is gone that connected it from here to here. The dashed line is gone. What that means is now this bone is just its own separate thing. Okay, so now we got this bone selected, you can tab into object mode or pose mode. Okay, pose mode's where you gotta be. Pose mode is on the same level as object mode when you're on an armature. So if you're ever trying to find pose mode, just make sure you have an armature selected. So I got this leg, which I just was like this foot bone that I just duplicated, and now I'm in pose mode. And again, this is not paired to anything, so if I move it, it doesn't do anything to my armature. It's kind of just useless at this point. So let's add some things to it. So if you're in pose mode and you have a bone selected, you can go and see. Notice if you're in edit mode, you don't have this option. Okay, so you got to be in pose mode. You get this tab, and it's called Bone Constraints. Click here. And what you're going to do is you're going to set up bone constraints so that this bone here is controlling this bone here. Okay, so you have to put the bone constraint on the actual foot bone. So add bone constraint, and it's called inverse kinematics. Okay, and when you do this, you get this dashed line to the root bone, and this is red, and it's saying, okay, this isn't good. We must fix this. Okay, so it'll get fixed in a second. All you have to do is first say target, and your target is going to be your armature. And then its menu pops up bone. Which bone is it? And if you're like me and you just named all that stuff, the bone you created down here is called the bone foot.r.01. And before we go and do that, maybe let's just name that bone foot.r.control. And so that's a little better than what we had before. And then we're on here, just go back to our bone constraints. And then let's select the bone, foot.r.control. And then our thing goes wacky. Oh, what was that? That is our inverse kinematics kicking in. And it's saying, okay, it's set up now. So it starts manipulating things, and it looks really ugly. So first thing you need to do actually is, well, don't panic, okay? And then you're going to change the chain length to, let's change it to 2 for now, or 1. Got a 1. Now what happens is when you select your bone and you move your bone around, this thing follows now, okay? Now if you have this set up with 1, you know, it's not really all that interesting at this point. Tab in edit mode. You gotta sometimes play with the placement of this thing. So what I'm gonna do is RX. I'm just kind of placing it right, kind of underneath. And then if I basically just lined up the bones, and then if I take that right foot control, okay, got it, and then, how did that happen? Huh. Must have scaled it to 0. Weird. Anyways, what I've done is I've just placed it right underneath the actual foot bone, and when I go into my pose mode, now you'll see things aren't quite as wacky as they were before. It actually kind of knows what to do. And you might want to play with that because the placement of your Ikea bone affects all the calculations that happen. So you'll want to put your Ikea bone below, usually, your armature point that you're controlling. So now that that's there, let's play with some more settings. So right now our chain length 0, or 1, so it's only controlling this foot actually, which is not really interesting. Let's try 2 and 3. And you notice if you kick it up to 3, you start seeing weird things happen, and that's Ikea bone actually working. It's doing its job. So let's move it back. Okay, notice when we move it back, and forth, you see we get like interesting things happening, like the leg bending. Okay, now you can probably easily imagine how this could work out for your character, right? Upper leg, lower leg, foot. Okay, so if you want this foot to bend back or forth, you could do that, or whatever you want, right? That's pretty cool. But right now it's not really bending at the knee because of the way this particular model is set up. So let's bump this up to 3 now. And then when we move that control bone, you see that has a really nice natural thing look to it when it bends. Now, what you might be thinking is, yeah, Ash, that's cool, but what about that weird thing it's doing where it flips inside out and stuff? Yeah, let's fix that. So what I understand to be true, and I think it's just Alt-G, what I understand is that the way the armatures are set up initially can kind of tell Blender what to do with your inverse kinematics. So what I'm going to do next is adjust my armature so that it works better. So in edit mode, I'm just going to pop into side view, and I'm just going to grab this here, and I'm just going to bend it forward. So there's a little bend at my knee. And what this will kind of do is Blender will tell my armature, okay, this is where the knee is. And let's see what happens when we go back into pose mode and grab this object and then start moving it. Oh, didn't change this. Change this back to 3. Remember not to move the regular bone, you got to move the control bone. Okay, so see, now it's bending at the knee properly. Okay, so anyways, this was a demonstration of how to set up inverse kinematics. This process you would then have to repeat for the arms and the legs, and they're all done the same way as what you just did. And what this will do is it'll give you these control bones, which we can then control. By the way, I don't know about you, but I really don't like this, so that's something we need to fix. So in the next video, I'm going to repeat this work on all of it, and then I'm going to smooth out the armature so that or the mesh with the armature and how they interact, so that when you move the leg up, it doesn't do this. It shouldn't be moving the body of the house. So I'm going to show you some tools for that. So thank you for watching. If you have questions, of course, bug me in class, or you can comment on Canvas or on YouTube or whatever you're doing. But anyways, thank you for watching. Have a great day.